And now let's start the conference with our first speaker. First to our stage, we have Peter Walshe, who is Global Brand Director of Kantar Millward Brown, and he's going to walk us through the lifeblood of brand success. Peter is a Taurus, he's married, and he's blessed with 2 boys, now aged 30 and 27. One word describes him: enthusiastic. He is an enthusiastic tennis player, and in music, he enthusiastically loves anything Bill Evans, the great jazz writer and performer. He does have a secret talent, which is composing hideous poems that he shares with his friends at special events. So joining us from England, it's my great pleasure to bring Peter to our stage. Peter, please join us.
Gunaiden. So, what is the secret of success? With brands, just like people, it is staying ahead of the game and communicating that in an interesting and relevant way to the people who matter. Innovation and creativity. So let me start by showing you some evidence from the biggest brand database in the world, the Brandsy database, which coincidentally is the same age as the Marka conference, 17 years old. And in that time, we've interviewed over the years more than 3 million people across 50 countries, covering more than 100,000 brands. And this is the latest in terms of the brands that are the most valuable and the most innovative, the top 10 innovation brands. And you can see they're not all by any means only online or internet brands. They're a mix, but indeed they are quite modern brands, but very powerful ones that you will recognize. And of course, the other side is the top creative brands. That is, brands that have got a perception of great advertising. By that, of course, we mean not just the creative, but also the media budget, the weight and the support in order for that communications and advertising to be seen and heard by the audiences that matter. And again, an array of fantastic brands. Innovation and creativity. So let's first of all look at how the share prices of the top strongest brands in the world have performed over the last 11 years. This is the benchmark that we can measure them against. It's the MSCI World Index of Share Prices. So if you like, the share prices of the owners of all of the brands across the world. And you can see over that time it's performed reasonably well, up 20% over the last 11 years. But you can also see that actually, at the beginning, it performed quite well, and then the recession came along and the share prices plunged. And it took another 4.5 years for the values to recover their starting position, until eventually you'd be gaining a little bit if you'd invested in that portfolio. But now, let's compare with the strongest brands in the world. Yes! Look at that. If you'd invested in the companies that owned the strongest brands, you'd be 5 times better off than the benchmark. This shows the power of a strong brand. It indicates that brand is one of the most valuable assets that a company can possibly own. And more to the point, it is an asset that is controllable by you, the marketers and owners of companies and brands in the world. So, the power of brand, innovation, and creative. So what do I mean by innovation? Well, the definition of innovation from our research is new information that is meaningfully different. And I'm going to show you some evidence from another database, the Millward-Brown link database of pre-testing, where we've, in this snap, which I've specially done this analysis for the conference here today, nearly 25,000 ads across the world. And each of those ads, we measure the creativity of the ad, its awareness index, the ability to cut through because of what's in the ad. And we also measure how innovative the ad is in terms of whether it's got new information and whether that information is meaningfully different. So are you ready? You're the first people in the world to see this slide. What we see is that against the average, where that dotted line is, ads that are perceived to be new information that's meaningfully different vastly outperform other ads. And even if the information is new, it only adds a little bit to ads that contain neither of those. So the difference is meaningful difference. Now let's go back to our BrandZ database and look at the brands that we valued 11 years ago, same brands, to the brands that we've got valued this year over 11 years, 2006 to 2016. And what we see from that evidence is that the brand values grow more if they are both innovative and creative. Let me show you. So what we've got here is innovation up there, advertising appeal or creativity over here, because we can measure all of those brands. And if you are neither, over 11 years, you had a modest growth of about 31% in terms of brand value. And then, if the advertising was pretty good, but with no real innovation, yes, you get a greater lift in terms of brand value growth, about double the other one, but it's still pretty modest. And now, if you look up at where the brand is perceived to be pretty innovative, but the communication is not pulling its weight, again, you get a slightly better brand value growth over that time, but still nowhere near the sweet spot in the top right-hand corner, where we see if innovation is supported by relevant, interesting communications, innovation and creativity, you get massive growth. So the power of innovation and creativity. And I'm going to show you 3 very quick examples that do that in very different ways. My first is Red Bull. Fantastic brand. The figure in the middle there, in terms of unique, the average brand would score 100, and you can see Red Bull is nearly 1.5 times that globally. It's just such a different brand. And this is due to its consistency of surprising people, amazing events, sponsorship. And you can see the picture there, the massive, high, dangerous diving. It's Flucht air race. And of course, more recently, the massive Stratus jump, the highest free fall of a human being from 128,000 feet, which attracted more than 1 billion paid, unpaid, and earned media impressions. Not a surprise then that Red Bull's sales went up by 7% in the following year. My second example is the fabulous brand Tesla. It's now leapt into our 10th most valuable car brand from nowhere because of its sheer innovation, shaking things up. As you can see, they're changing the way we think about transportation, about the earth and the resources that we use, led by a charismatic leader, Elon Musk, with a vision. So this is a brand that follows that through. And it certainly exhibits all the characteristics of brands such as Apple, when we first saw it come along, and Facebook, two fantastically fast-growing brands. So this is one to watch. And my third example has been around relatively much longer, Nike. Really the daddy of innovation. A brand which has consistently been felt to be leading the way because it refreshes the way that it helps people. And as its lead designer says, it listens to its consumers and comes up with products that they meet their needs and leads them into making themselves the better athlete that's within themselves, and communicating this consistently with different aspects for different countries, but with the same brand-led approach. So, meaningfully different. I've showed you how innovation sets up something that's worth looking at and finding out about, particularly if the creativity, the communications, then announce that in a salient and strong way to the people who matter. And then, of course, what happens? People are intrigued, they know about it, and so they try the brand. And if the brand experience then lives up to, or even goes beyond the expectation, then you've really got a winner, because people then find that that experience is so great that love and affinity towards the brand grows further, which then sustains the brand until it comes along for its next innovation. And that's how we define and call the lifeblood that makes brands succeed. So, let me show you again another piece of analysis that I've done from the Brands database. Again, a world premiere for you here today. We looked at the brands, and these are the brands that we valued 2006 and 2016, the same brands, and classified them to see whether they were healthy. That is, they were brands which scored high in terms of innovation and creativity and brand experience and love on the whole set. They are then very healthy. The other side of the picture is brands which score poorly on all of those things. They're out of sorts. They need some help. They're not very well. And of course, brands in the middle, or the mix of those, are okay. But let me show you the difference, the brand value change over 11 years between those two sets. And this will really show you the importance of lifeblood. We look at the out of sorts. Oh dear. Their value declined over that period, whereas the healthy ones grew a massive over 200%, more than 100 times better. So I hope I've demonstrated to you, the leaders, the innovators, the marketers of these valuable brands out there, how important it is for you to lead, to make sure that your brands keep innovating, that your budgets for communications are relevant, focus on the right things, and do not get cut. So, good luck for the future, and here's to the healthy brands of this world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've got a question for you. In your lifeblood journey, I wrote it down, innovation, creativity, experience, and then love. Where do you find that brands fall down? Where's the trap? Which is the biggest trap?
That's actually a very good question, BJ, because it's something that is so easy to be complacent. You're a success, and things are going really well, so why change anything?
Yeah.
The problem is there are competitors out there. Things are changing in the world, just as you so eloquently put it in your introduction. And if you ignore that and don't keep up with the times, it's so quick before things decline. Let me give you a quick example, actually. You think about Domino's Pizza, which was getting, several years ago, losing trust, getting huge complaints from its users, saying the product was rubbish. The CEO listened to this, and then he reformulated the product. And then very bravely, he went out and innovated. He made an ad which said, "I'm really sorry, our product's rubbish. I do apologize, but I promise you we fixed it. Please go out there and try it. I guarantee you'll like it. I'll give you your money back." That was incredibly brave, incredibly innovative, very well communicated. What happened? Trust returned to the brand, and the brand became a great success. In fact, it now regards itself very much as an internet brand, so it changed the way of delivery and so on. Over half the sales in the US are now delivered online, as opposed to through the outlets.
So it's maintaining the innovation. That's the trick. That's the key message.
Refreshing these things.
Refreshing.
But in relation, sticking it to what is good and defines the brand.
Peter, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Walshe. Thank you so much.